Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Wednesdays for Water Foundation team, I welcome all of you to the Wednesdays of Water discussion on incorporating innovations in everyday water issues. Wednesdays for Water is instituted with the objective to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and explore possible solutions. We have expanded to have more activities like Friday Water, organizing workshops, water walks, conference panels to continue the water conversation in different ways. Please visit our website w4w.in for more details. Today's session is incorporating water, innovations in everyday water issues. Hello, everybody. I'm Radhika. I'm the Karnataka State Vice President for Water Resources Council at the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, WICI. I am an environmental engineer by education with about 18 years experience in this field, working at US EPA, TERI, and Argyam. I'm really passionate about innovations, and I think there are so many innovations out there to solve our water problems. And today I am really happy to be speaking to three women who have done an excellent job, in innovation space. I run something called the Capoxide Innovation Platform to help promote some innovations in sustainability. What is innovation? So innovation is really seeing what everyone is seeing and thinking what nobody has ever thought. It is to imagine the future and fill in the gaps. Actually, to implement and do things. And failure is a big part of it. They're actually the stepping stones to success. And today we will meet three women who have stepped out of their comfort zones to do things others have not even thought of. As we will learn from these women, nothing is successful the first time, but the passion to make a change, the power of conviction, and the flexibility to pivot have helped them continue in their journey of innovations. Welcome to Garvita, Preeti, and Mithan, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you also to all the participants joining us, and we hope to have a really good interactive session today. Please feel free to pipe in with questions in the chat box at any point as we go through the session. So just to give an introduction, we know water has touched our lives in more ways than we've realized. And of course, I don't need to explain more than that to this audience today. But these innovative minds have been working on innovative solutions on the ground. The process of innovation itself has 5 stages. Ideation, when you actually come up with the idea. So that is really thinking what nobody else has thought of. And then you look at screening those ideas. So you have 5 ideas and you screen and say, okay, you choose 1 or 2. Then you experiment and you say, okay, what works? And what works on the ground and how, and maybe you have to tweak. And that's when you pivot and try to tweak the solutions to to address the problem. And then commercialization and implementation and scaling, right? So these 5 stages are really how innovation gets from ideation to implementation. And we have the 3 women today who are in various stages in this process of innovation. And I invite our speakers today to talk about their background, what prompted them to get into this field, what stage of innovation they are in, challenges they have faced, and any failures that have acted as stepping stones. We will start with our youngest entrepreneur, innovator, Garvita Gulhati. Just give a brief, the bio will be available in the chat box, so just to kind of save time. Just to give a quick introduction, I think all of us have gone to restaurants, but how many of us have really noticed that we leave our water glasses half full? Where do you think the water goes? Garvita, at the age of 15, decided to do something about it, and I am going to hand it over to Garvita to talk more. Garvita, it's yours.
Thank you so much, Radhika, for inviting me to join the Wednesdays for Water conversation. I'm so glad to be here with such incredible panelists alongside me who are doing great work as well. I'm actually going to pull up my share my screen, and I hope it's visible. Uh, yeah, great, perfect. All right. So before I begin, I'm gonna ask everyone a quick question and drop whatever number comes to your head, the first thing that you're thinking of. How much water do you think you consume on a daily basis? Just in liters, whatever that number is, the first number that comes to your head, put it in the chat box. I'm gonna go see the chat boxes then. Everyone has access to type into the box, right? Okay, great. 50 to 60 liters, interesting. 100 liters. I think I'll take like three, four more answers and then I'll continue. 100, 70 to 80, 140. Okay, I love it when this happens. Uh, so, of course, I'm sure you all would have, thought through your day and tried to understand how it is that you consume water on a daily basis to really deep dive and build this number. But let me tell you, on an average, every individual consumes, and any individual would be, I would say, someone living in a middle class household in a city like one of us, would consume somewhere between 400 to 500 liters of water. So to gain perspective on how we reach that number, uh, let's talk about the moment that you wake up. The first thing that you do, you go use the washroom. Every time you flush, you're consuming 15 liters of water. When you brush your teeth, that's 5 liters of water. When you take a bath, depending on whether you use a shower or you use a bucket, let's say, for example, you use a bucket, right? That would have consumed about 20 liters of water. But if you've taken a shower, it could be anywhere between 150 to 200 liters of water. You might be cooking food at home. You would be washing your clothes, you'd be washing your dishes, you're going to be watering your plants. Each of these processes has consumed some amount of water. And this is just the water that is tangibly visible to us. There is a whole other segment of water called virtual water that is not directly visible to the naked eye, but is water that we're actually consuming on a daily basis. So, one more last round of quiz. Um, Last sort of quizzed round. How much water do you think is consumed uh, in manufacturing a single pair of jeans? That's right. I'm just looking at the chat. So yes, an individual actually does not need more than 50 to 70 liters of water every day. Just because we end up, having these very um, I think we don't have the most sustainable way of utilizing water in our homes, just simply because we have easy access to it. We end up using a lot more than we actually need. All right. So these are answers to how much exactly due to lifestyle. Our water consumption is actually running in the thousands. So I had asked, how much water do you think gets consumed in the water? Sorry, how much water gets consumed in manufacturing a pair of jeans? On an average, to manufacture a pair of jeans, Preeti actually got it right. We consume almost 4,000 liters of water. And this is just one product, right? You look at anything and everything around you. Your car has consumed almost 30,000 liters of water to manufacture. The device via which we're interacting has again consumed even more, thousands of liters of water to manufacture. Every single piece of clothing that you wear has consumed thousands and thousands of liters of water to manufacture. And that is something that we don't even account for. This water is called virtual water or hidden water. And this water is something that, because it's not directly observable to the naked eye, is something that we're actually not, at all accounting for. So that was just to, get us a little interactive and understand what our water footprint looks like. Let me, hop on to my journey, what it has looked like, and, how we came about building Why Waste. So in the year 2015, I became deeply impacted by the water crisis that India was facing. And this was really driven by a personal experience that I had. That experience was, I was in, the city of Ahmedabad with my family. We were visiting this really beautiful stepwell. And over there, we happened to come across So I was, walking around, and this little girl, she came and ran up to me, and I thought, she might ask me for money or something like that. But instead, she asked me for the water in the water bottle in my hand, and that was really shocking to me because um, I realized that this is something that is so easily accessible to us is not accessible to, a lot of people. As a 15-year-old, I started reading more and more about the water crisis, understanding, why it exists, what are the root causes of it. And I was, bombarded with images like the one that you can see on the screen. Um, I know I'm not able to move into the, yeah. All right. So and as you know, 15-year-old, I felt incredibly overwhelmed. I did not know what to do with all of this information. And that's when around World Environment Day in the year 2015, my environmental education teacher in school, she shared this with us. She told us about this metric. And I was moved because it immediately reminded me of the little girl for whom just a few sips of water changed her day, but we so callously leave it behind in our classes when we visit restaurants. To build that relation, to link it in my head, and to finally feel like this is a space where I can do something tangible, where I can, perhaps make a difference, where I could, at least go and impact in some way because these people felt like folks I could speak to. I decided to get up and get moving. So I started visiting restaurants, trying to talk to them, sharing solutions with them, but initially in vain, right? Because one, I think as someone who was providing a solution, there wasn't enough empathy that we had built with restaurants to try and understand what their situation is, why they function in a certain manner. How what they are doing matters, or how filling water in glasses is very important for them. It's sort of a sign for rating restaurants, and so. Just to sort of one understand their perspective, right? And the second challenge that we faced, of course, was being very young. People, I still recollect managers would see us from a distance and they would say, "We don't even want to talk to her because she looks too young," or what ideas can you have that we already don't? And so I think it was just really understanding or uh, being able to sort of one for us empathize with them, but also convince them that just because we're young, it doesn't mean that we don't have the ideas to make a difference. It doesn't mean that we can't participate in the process of building a solution. In fact, I think as young people, we have an even more powerful asset, which is growing up in a world and an ecosystem that is different from any of the generations that came before us, right? We've been growing in a world that has been constantly changing, and that has pushed us to have to look at this change and think differently right from the moment, we perhaps started growing and understanding things around us. And every young person, almost every single young person that I've had a conversation with, has observed a problem in their locality, in their community, or even at a larger scale, and is something that they want to personally solve, but they haven't had that initial push or that initial motivation to do it. And I think for me, it was really a lot of push and motivation coming in from my environmental education teacher that allowed me to, um, you know, continue to build that urgency to want to make a difference. And that led to the launch of Why Waste. At Why Waste, our goal is to change the mindsets of people towards water by providing them simple solutions to enable them to become a part of solving the problem. I realized very quickly that a lot of people don't really contribute to conserving water because very often they don't even know that they're a part of the problem, right? Something as simple as us not knowing what our daily water footprint is. If you know what your water footprint is, you'll be thinking about how much water you're consuming every time you consume it. But if you simply don't, you won't even think about it. So the first goal is to actually make people realize that they're a part of the problem, and it's each and every one of us. I was a part of the problem as well, and then converting and making those small, simple changes in your life that naturally enable that change or can enable some form of an impact, right? Um, And that was this solution that we finally also built with restaurants called Glass Half Full, where we encourage restaurants to fill their glasses only half instead of filling it full. That way, you take just as much water as you need, you don't waste, and you end up saving some water for someone else who today doesn't have access to it. The beautiful graphic that you see on the screen was actually created by one of my friends, and it became it was something that was very moving, and it actually got went viral on social media with the perspective of you need to consume just as much water as you need, not just when you're at restaurants, but in every single thing that you do in your life, whether it is going and taking a bath, or cooking food, or watering your plants, or cleaning your vegetables, or cleaning your car, or washing your clothes. Whatever it might be, consume just as much water as you might need. Utilize technology to its best in terms of, a front load washing machine using much lesser water than a top load washing machine. Make those investments that are sustainable in the long term to enable you to be a better consumer today and actually conserve, these many liters of water. And what we started observing in restaurants, especially those in the localities around us, was people visiting them and experiencing glass half full would come back and tell us that, we're not just thinking about water in the restaurant, but we're going back and thinking about it in our homes. We're thinking about it when we're taking a bath, and when we're thinking about it when we're cooking our food. And that was incredible to see, just to see how an idea that would have taken almost, I think we took 2 years to shape it. And in hindsight, it feels like a short period, but it actually took, personally visiting over 100 restaurants to come up with this solution. But to just see it have that tangible impact and then today live a life of its own, have people adopt it across communities and ecosystems, I think is also another very important lesson in the essence of change that I learned, that anything that you build or create to make a difference must be something that people can, call their own. That's when they're going to adopt it and adapt to it more quickly. So this is just some, exciting images from conversations we've had in restaurants with customers um, around serving half a glass of water. Uh, Finally, just to, wrap up the glass half full story, I realized that me going just to the restaurants in my community is not going to be enough. And, me going every weekend with the volunteers that we had at Y Waste again was not going to be enough. I think there was this necessity for us to have outreach at much larger scale. And if I would have spent even the next 20 years, I would not have been able to cover all of the restaurants across the country. So the goal was, who can we reach out to who can help us connect with all of these restaurants? And the answer was the NRAI, which is the National Restaurants Association of India. In 2018, I wrote a petition to them, spent over 9 months campaigning, petitioning, trying to get them to listen to us, take our ideas to the global scale. Almost 9 months later, got a call with them, took about 3 months, actually made this happen. And on March 22nd, World Water Day 2019, we launched Glass Half Full in restaurants across the country. We took it to the 5 lakh restaurants that the NREI represents, and over 2 to 3 years post that, actually managed to conserve over 10 million liters of water. I think today, just to watch and observe this idea and solution being taken up by ecosystems around the world in their own way is something so deeply positive. Also, because glass half full stands for optimism, and just to have that optimistic lens towards change is something that I always love to drive all of the initiatives that we take up with. Um, and that was just, of course, a lot about glass half full. But we also work with young people to educate them about climate change and to get them thinking of solutions. Um, we have written a book that is that is focused for young people between grades 1 to 5. This is really deeply inspired by my own childhood, where I think I was exposed to empathy, change making at a very young age. Finishing food on my plates or celebrating birthdays with lesser privileged children, and just sharing those moments and creating that kind of an ecosystem was deeply driving. So the sustainability stories, what it really tries to do is it goes deep into uh, you know, just utilizing your simple fables that you used to have, those animal characters, and creating fun stories around them of change, and having the youngest character solve the problem so that your young people are motivated and know that they can make a difference. And finally, um, what we realized was in this fight for conserving water, it is so important for each and every one of us to be a part of the solution and learn those small ways in which we can change our lives. That's when we built our app that actually allows you to calculate your water footprint. So what I asked you right in the beginning, what do you think your water footprint is? You can actually go out and find something close to the exact number. And then what we do is we take you through simple steps, right? Like you can see there's an easy challenge, there's a medium challenge, and then there's going to be advanced challenges. And the goal is to not overwhelm you in the beginning, but really take you through those simple steps and teach you how you can be a part of change, how you can save water, and how you can do those little things, right? You don't have to do things that are incredibly difficult. You just need to do things that are a little different, and that can make all of the difference. Um, I think just to wrap up, it's so important for each and every one of us to realize that in this world of constant change, in this world where change is the only constant, we are now in the constant need of change makers like you and I. Each and every one of us doing our bit. It's so important because uh, it's collective action that matters, right? It's not just one authority, it's not just one government, it's not just one corporation that is going to make a difference. It is collective action of all of us together. In fact, we as individuals have a unique power to influence all of these other stakeholders, right? And to give you a quick example, the banning of plastic straws, how did that happen? We as individuals refused to use the product. That led corporations to actually re innovate and governments to create policy around it. And I think just seeing that marriage of change happen so beautifully, where today you see the remotest parts of even India does not have plastic straws, and that's just incredible to see. And I think that's how we can drive change by first starting to make those differences in our daily lives. Don't overwhelm yourself and ask yourself to do everything in a day. Take baby steps, take small challenges, build little habits, and together and collectively, I'm sure each of us can be a part of something so large and make such a huge impact.
Thank you so much, Garvita. I think that is actually really inspiring, and I think what I take away from this is really, I mean, it's a small step, right? It's not something that is, really complex or really like it kind of involves a lot of kind of resources or anything. It's just the small steps that count. And what I especially like is how you just created that movement among the youth, and I have actually downloaded the app, and it's really nice, it's really good. So I would encourage everybody to actually have a look at the app, and you can have your own water footprint calculator, and as Garvita said, do your bit in the small ways to sort of reduce your water footprint. Garvita, I know you are a little bit under the weather today, and you said you would like to kind of leave early. In that sense, I mean, I would like to ask you a question, which I actually reserved for the end. But
Sure, Radhika, please go
yeah,
ahead.
okay. So I wanted to ask you. I mean, in all your journey of innovation now, being young and being enterprising and all that, what would you attribute? What do you think is one the most important quality as an innovator? Um, what do you think?
That's a tough question. I think there's a lot of qualities, right? But I think it sort of boils down to empathy, and it's not just empathizing with the problem. It's empathizing with all stakeholders in the ecosystem, right? When I think of glass half full, right, it was not just about empathizing with water as a resource. It was empathizing with restaurants. It was empathizing with the National Restaurants Association of India. It was empathizing with the customers and of course empathizing with ourselves because we also are out there to achieve a goal and try to make a change. It's really about understanding what each of the stakeholders in the ecosystem that we really want to transform will benefit best as. And I think even when I think of changing businesses, or how can we really uh, impact at scale, right? Where I was just talking about, there's so many stakeholders, there's governments, there's people. Today, when I think of the world was not built by one community. It was not built by one set of people. It was built by all kinds of people, right? There were lawyers who have built the world. There are software engineers, there are doctors. Everyone has come together to build what the world is today. So everyone needs to come together to even solve these problems. And as change makers or change drivers, it is our duty to be able to empathize with all of them and to realize that they are also in a specific ecosystem. They are also building something, in an interesting manner. So how can we plug in change into what they are doing? And how can we ensure that, collectively then as an ecosystem, we're able to empower that change?
I think that's fantastic, Garvita. And I think empathy. That is. I like the way you have articulated that, because it is really important as an innovator to have your innovation accepted and to have it scaled. I think what you have said is really, I think, very, very relevant to really have that empathy. And I think a lot of our policies that we have also would benefit from that knowledge, right? I mean, once you have empathy and really you understand what the final stakeholder needs and how that stakeholder is going to incorporate that solution, I think that makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. I would just like to open it up really quickly to the audience, because Garvita has to leave. If there are any questions for her, really quick, because she's a bit under the weather today. And thank you so much for joining despite that. Just
Thank you for understanding. I'm sad I'm going to be missing the rest of it, but sleep is calling. Rest is calling, sorry. But in case, if anyone wants to mull over, I can also drop my email, and you can just write to me if you have any questions, and happy to take them outside of this as well.
Sure, sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So while I think there was one question on, just please share the name of the app. The name of the app is Why Waste. So, Garvita, if you could just put in whatever the response to that is.
Yes,
And
you can. I'm just dropping the link to
yeah,
download the app.
yeah,
And in case anyone wants to write to me, you can do it here.
great. Thank you so much, Garvita. Our next speaker is Preeti Chauhan.
Thank you, Radhika.
And she is actually staying in a place where, are you just joining us from Leh, Preeti? Yeah, okay. So, I mean, while Leh is really a beautiful place to be in, I can't imagine how it will be in winters, but that is where Preeti is trying to make things, implement her innovation and I'm going to let her talk about what she's working on and the stumbling blocks that have helped her succeed. Preeti, over to you.
So first and foremost, I just want to say one thing. What Garvita was talking about, the empathy. I feel each person should come and stay here in Ladakh in winter to understand and value water. When one has to walk 200 meters to get water, which will be utilized for all the activities, say it from washing, cooking, everything, you name it, and everything. So I feel once one person experiences that, automatically that conservation aspect comes in the picture. I remember in one of the winter, I went back home, and just looking at the force of water at the tap in my house in Bombay, I was like, why is this so fast? Like, why there is so much of flow? It needs to be slow. When we don't get it, then I feel we try to value it more. So I'll quickly share my screen. Just give me a heads up if it is visible. Yeah. So good evening, everyone. I am Preeti Chauhan. I am originally from Mumbai, but now I am, since 2019, I'm based in Ladakh, and my organization's name is Little Green World. So we've been working on this project called Project Equa Leh. whenever we think of the Himalayas or the mountains, we always think of fresh water and like purified, pure water. You don't have to really go anywhere. But Ladakh comes in a place where it is a uh, mountain desert. So yes, there are rivers flowing, but still there is a water scarcity. And in this particular project, we are two people. Yeah. So I am there. Just to give my background, I'm a civil engineer, also studied environment management just because of the interest. And after the 7 years of corporate life, understood that I don't want to do it anymore. And I moved here in Ladakh. And for this project, I always believe that if we want to do anything, we need to have local people with us because we understand the problem more better. So that's the reason I have my partner whose name is Chevang Choster. He comes from the background of tourism and he is also passionate to work towards how do we have this, like, how do we solve the water problem? And what are we talking about as a water problem? So in Ladakh, it has happened that there are a lot of plastic water bottles which have been used. What has happened after the release of the movie of Three Idiot? Lot of domestic tourists started visiting Ladakh, and after that visit, the water usage started to increase. And generally, in Ladakh, we do not have flush toilets. The locals will be using dried compost toilets. So the water footprint, when we talk about 7 liters of water in one flush, that is completely cut down. But because to cater the tourist and particularly the domestic tourists who are not adjusting to the environment, the Ladakhis started putting up the dried this flush toilets or the poor flush toilets. And with this toilet, what happened is they do not have a proper septic tank. They have something called as soak pit, which is nothing but like a mud bricks which have been put uh, on the tank wall, and all the flushed water, sewage water, is going inside that. And over the period, what has happened that that water is contaminating the groundwater. There is, because of which the water has been contaminated, and which is giving more reason to really go and use the water, bottled water, because people feel that it is the water of Leh is heavy and like it is they are not like they are having problem adjusting to it. So that's the reason people are going more to more using the bottled water. There has been one more change is that earlier people used to only depend on the surface water, as in the river water. But now, because of the demand of water has increased, people have started using the borewell waters also. And what has happened, one, there are incidences where the borewell water, when pumped out, it's yellow in color. Reason because of the groundwater contamination. And all this thing has led to something like this. This is the dumping ground of Ladakh, which is called Bomgard. And the thing that you see in the center, this picture was taken by me in 2019 before the pandemic. And it's just all the bottles segregated in one place. It was, as per to one study, it was estimated in 2018, 50,000 plastic bottles were dumped daily here. And these are the bottles which are like collected from the Leh city and nearby. We are not even accounting the bottles which have been dumped somewhere else. So this has been a big problem, though the mountain water is pure and like it is fit for drinking, but the river water is fit for drinking. Yes, there are changes in that as well, but people have been told, the tourists have been told that the water is not suitable, and more consumption of bottled water has been happening. And this has become one of the problem. So our mission is to basically build sustainable alternatives for the plastic water bottle. And for this, what we tried looking at, so majorly Little Green World works on uh, waste reduction, waste prevention, and environment management. And we particularly believe that We cannot just go like, as Garvita was saying about empathy, like we need to understand what is happening at each level. And for this, we had done this survey. We were working on a project where we were, one second, my laptop is just dying. Yeah. So we were working on this project where we surveyed different organizations and hotels, homestay, guest houses, restaurants, and we asked them different questions on how are they doing the waste management practices, how are they, what are they doing for the water, are they serving the bottled water, or how the energy consumption happens. And not just surveying the restaurants and the tourism establishment, we also survey the tourists. What are the options they are looking at? If alternatives given, will they accept it? So trying to understand the both, all the stakeholders to get to a right identification of the right problem and trying to identify the right solution. We asked this question to hotels, and how many of them really serve the bottled water, and what is the reason for serving. And if you see in the tourists, majorly they are saying for the safety concern, they are opting for it. And most of the hotels, like, there, unless and until you ask, they will not provide you regular water. There is a, like, they'll keep the water bottle first only. So that is the mindset that we want to change. And we asked this question: are you willing to be called as a plastic bottle free? Not telling them that you call yourself as plastic free, but just plastic bottle free. And it was amazing to see the responses. Most of them, 90% and more, they have said. Only there were one or two people, establishment who said no. And the reason is also like, because there are people who, there's a lot of margin on water bottles. So that's the reason they choose like not to be called as a plastic bottle water free. Interestingly, when the same question is asked to tourists, all the tourists said they are willing to stay at a restaurant or any hotel which is plastic bottle free. So what solution we are bringing in? We are trying to build this water filter, biosand water filter, which has been developed by COST, which is a Canadian organization, NGO. And in India, there is the Hegel Foundation, which has been doing this. So we want to make this water filter here. But in this water filter, what happens is it majorly works in sand, gravel, and the container which has been made in a certain way. So it works on that. Majority of the purification happens with the sand and gravel, and the more efficiency is brought by the biological layer, which is the microorganism layer, which is formed on the top of the filter. Why we chose this? Because there is abundance of sand, gravel available in Ladakh, and if we are able to make it here, then local people will be getting employment. And the only major challenge in this water filter is the biological layer or the microorganism layer that I'm talking about. They can survive in 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, wherein in Ladakh, the temperature in the winter goes down to minus 15 to minus 20 degrees. So this is the challenge that we have taken up, that we want to make a filter which even works in the winters of Ladakh. And so there are these different types of water filters also available. Why we are choosing this also? This water filter can have a capacity of 80 liters, which is sufficient for a restaurant or sufficient for a homestay. And if they have more demand, then they can have multiple of it. On the other side, the ceramic water filter, it has the flow rate is low and the capacity is low. And one of the major thing, why going for biosand water filter and not the other big brand water filters in Ladakh, is because their maintenance does not happen here in Ladakh. Things are installed, technologies have been brought, but after a time, it's not functional. Like it was last year only, last year only, the government put up water ATMs at 5 to 10 places here in Ladakh. Turns out, none of them are working right now. And we want to work on something which can be built by local, which can be managed by local, and it can run for a long time. It does not require maintenance for the long time, because this water filter, biosand water filter, has like sand and gravel, and the maintenance is so easy. It can run for 10, 15, 30 years also, if utilized it properly. So that's the reason we want to go for the biosand water filter here. There have been challenges. The cold I mentioned. Other thing is, geographically it is difficult. One place will be at say 11,500 meters. The other place would be at 15,000 feet. So how do we manage to get at these places? Then also, like, sand and gravel is here, but the metals we cannot get it in winters. So we need to make sure that the manufacturing and everything happens in summers only. So this was we started working on this pilot. This was made last year, and this filter I had received from Sehgal Foundation. Uh, this is the actual filter which has been sent to us by this organization. Now we are trying to make it, customize it for the Ladakh region. For the pilot, what we are trying to do is manufacturing it here itself in Ladakh, then install it some 4-5 places, do the water quality test, take the feedback, which we are presently doing, do the changes and modification, and then select 30 tourism establishment whom we had already surveyed and install it there. And then if we try to check the impact, if we install in 30 establishment, if there are 300 if there are average 300 tourists visit in this selected establishment, and every person would use 14 to 15 water bottles, approximately 1,35,000 bottles will be reduced. So we are trying to reduce it, like filter the water which is available and reduce the plastic water bottle waste. So I personally believe that there is no limit on learning. So just to get into, this is completely a new topic for me. I am not a water person. So I decided to do different courses. And there was this course by Sehgal Foundation cost on household water treatment and safe storage. So this course actually helped me to understand, even if I'm making this product, even if I'm making this filter, what are the things that I need to look up? And there was this particularly one thing, multi-barrier approach, which really helped me to understand that I need to add certain more uh, uh, say aspects to it, and certain more barriers in the filter to ensure that the water is safe to drink. So in the multi-barrier approach, generally it is like there are these 4-5 steps been followed. But in here in Ladakh, what we are trying to do, once the water is safely transported, we do the water filter. There will be, like, if the water filter is able to purify the water, then will directly have a safe storage. And if there are chances, if there are no the water is not been filtered at the level we require, because the biological layer is not there, then we'll install a UV lamp, and then make sure that the water is safe to drink. So this is how we are trying to do the customization. We have the main filter. Now we are adding other containers and trying to use waste also as a part of it for the insulation in winters. In one, we have put a husk and sawdust, husk or sawdust. In other, we have used glass wool, which is also used in the different places here to keep the temperature favorable. So this were also manufactured. This is the right side picture is of the storage, and the left side is of the main container. This is how it looks, and we wanted to make sure that we are not using any plastic. And the first container that we had received, it had a PVC pipe, so we made the pipe also of metal of the required size. And this is the glass wool that I was talking about. At present, this is the picture which the filter which is at my place. And at present we have this filters at 3 places. And Radhika was talking about the failures. So we have failed. We are still in the pilot stage. The one filter which is at Zanskar, it failed because it had leaks. The one filter which is at my place, even it had leaked, but now we have corrected it and now it is working. And there is other filter at my colleague's place. So what we are trying to do is trying to put it in the different location. Ladakh is really, geographically, it is really vast. It is the largest UT. So Zanskar is 430 kilometers from here. And the winters there are even more extreme. In daytime also the temperature goes down to minus 20 degrees Celsius. So we are trying to test it in the extreme places. We know this filter works in summers, but we are just trying to make sure that it works in winters as well. Once we prove it that it is working in winter, then we will really push it to hotels and homestays and guest houses for whom we had already served. So this is what we have done till now. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please.
Thank you so much, Preeti. And I think so there to me two things stand out in your whole journey, right? One is how you sort of work backwards from the problem. You said the problem is, because a lot of plastic bottles and are used, I mean, because of mineral water and everything, and how you work backwards and say, okay, came down to the actual problem where, the water from the bore wells is just not clean enough to be used for drinking, and how you zoned in on the actual problem that needs to be addressed. And the second thing is really your timelines, right? Your time cycles of how do you know if your innovation has really worked? I mean, that takes you have to go through the entire winter season in order to really understand that. And I think that requires tremendous amount of patience. And I think what I mean, if you could just elaborate, how do you plan to, do you have like a backup plan? Like, do you have a plan B? When if say plan A doesn't make it through this winter, I mean, do you have a plan B to sort of maybe plug in maybe midwinter to see if that would work?
So yeah, that's the actually the thing is that only if it doesn't work in winters, but still then we can propose it in summers. And the majority of the people or stakeholders we are trying to propose are the tourism establishment who function at peak in summers.
Yeah.
And in winters the functionality is low, like there are very minimal tourists. Only the tourists in winters we see will be for the chadar trek and not others. And that time the scenario is completely different. So we are not even like sure if people will use it or not, but it's just that uh, first try is to make ensure that it works. And we believe if we like uh, the UV lamp that I mentioned, that is one addition to it. Then we have also planned that we can put a solar panel on top of it to maintain the temperature of the container, and which again ensures the water is being purified. So that's what we've been trying. One of the thing about this filter is it needs to have one source of water supply. If I'm It's not like the other water filters. If I put the water and it will be filtered, no, it will be like if I'm using the river water, I'll have to use the river water, because the microorganism layer which has been built is been built from the same water. So, and they are only fighting back. So uh, the whole idea of this filter is also like going slow. Today we want everything quickly, so how do we break that down and go slow and adopt those small slower practices, which rather brings that more patience in us.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, thank you for that. I think, and also you had mentioned earlier that, of course, tourists is a big part of your target audience, but also residents, right? Locals also will be benefited. And those, of course, are, there throughout the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are a few questions. Can I answer them quickly?
Yeah, so we could either take that. Why don't we go to the end? I mean, we'll take the questions in the end. I would encourage everybody to please put your questions in the chat box. We will take it in the end. So I would like to move on to our next and last but certainly not the least speaker for the day is Mithan Subbiah. So I have actually known Mithan for a very long time, and she is a passionate lake healer. And in this journey, she has been experimenting interestingly with the water hyacinth that covers our lakes. And the rest of the bio will be available in the chat box. As I said, participants, thank you so much for your participation. Please do put in questions in the chat box and we will address them in the end. Mithan, over to you.
Hey, hi Radhika, and thank you so much for having us over. When I say us, I mean Hulimau Keretaranga. That's the lake group that I'm part of. I'm the lead volunteer. I also have my core team member here, Manisha, who is also one of the participants for this talk, Wednesdays for Water. It's really amazing that you're using a platform like this to, as Garvita was saying, it's something so simple. It's all around, but we just take a whole lot of it for granted. So are our lakes. It's supposed to be a place where we need this water for our groundwater sustenance, for our drinking purposes, for the basic whole that geography drawing that we had learned on that whole water cycle is why we need our lakes. And I think Bangalore was a center, was a city of lakes, but now we have just dwindled down to about 180 odd lakes, and most of them are really not well maintained. And so as a citizen group and living very close to the Hulimau Lake, we kind of have networked around this 107-acre lake, which is in South Bangalore. So that's where we are working. And yes, we've got, none of us are water professionals. We're just here for the whole angle that we've got nature so close to us. And it's actually, we are like slaves of that lake. On every Sundays, we are there working until COVID hit us. And so I'll just share my screen now. We've got different professionals who are supporting the lake in whichever possible way. Just a moment. Sorry. Screen. No? Yeah. So this is our lake before we started rejuvenating. And it's a beautiful lake. We've got about 140, I think 7 documented birds, both migratory and, and local. And we've been working on it since 2017. Then we were hit by COVID. We've got a great bunch of volunteers. We've been covered extensively for our work at the lake. And we also are known for this 1.5 kilometers of barren land, which we eventually, got down using all the forces of nature, including our policemen and children and, continuous maintenance. And now they're all adolescent, about 700 trees, which we've got now on the lake. But this is, of course, in the peripherals, nothing, in the lake, because we're not supposed to have trees. But
could you, sorry to interrupt, but could you just share screen, make it the far slide PowerPoint mode so that.
Okay, is it now?
Yeah, now it's good.
No, but I want to skip as well. No, just one moment. Just give me a second. Is this okay? Because I'm just trying to skip some, because maybe you don't have time. Is that okay?
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Is this hampering the viewer?
I mean, anybody else?
It's okay. You may go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, the avenue pretty much looks like this now. So we've, the group is large, very excited, and all of it. But then we broke out, during the pandemic, and when that happened, the our bestie, which we've always been working with, broke free, if I can use the word, the hyacinth. So the hyacinth is something which we've always had a fight with at the lake, because it's so invasive, and it just completely takes over the property as if it owns it. It's like that. And so we've been having, our lake group is constantly in the water, and pulling it out, and we dry it, and we've sent like almost 100 tons of it to the bio center at Hulimau, where they converted it into compost, because of very high nitrogen content in the plant, and they were more than willing to accept it. And we even further sent it to Carbon Masters, where they wanted to check it for biofuel. So we even did that. We sent them over a ton of hyacinth, which we physically pulled out of the lake, and we sent it there. But it didn't work. It failed as a biofuel, because they said transporting the hyacinth itself, to and fro, is going to work out too much, and it just fell flat. So we did all the other work, and we were really losing control of this one weed because of the nutrients in the water. So here we have our volunteers, doing everything possible to rope it in. We have a junior team who are also part of our, and sending it to the bio center and things like that. So coming back to what the hyacinth is, it's nothing. It's a invasive species of this aquatic plant, which is actually from South America, and it's actually very nice. It doesn't smell. It's like one sturdy looking, plant. But as they say, it's just probably just surface deep, and it's got the reputation of being one of the worst aquatic plants in the world. If you let it be, it'll probably take over. Um, you let it be another 1.5 years, probably you can see the whole world covered with hyacinth. It's one of those. And, it's known as the German weed in Bangladesh, and Florida devil in South Africa, and terror of Bengal in India. And it's called the Japanese trouble in Sri Lanka. I have no idea why. So the thing is, it just, as I said, it kind of completely sucks out the oxygen in the water. And this was, as usual, brought in by the British to India, because one of the queens, Lady Hastings, she was the first British Governor General's wife, was enchanted by these beautiful purple flowers, and she said she wanted to, want it in her ponds. And from there on, like the Parthenium, it has spread all over the country. And it definitely, for one, destroys the natural wetlands and causes a lot of flooding by, it kind of gets so dense. Since it floats, it gets so dense that it just, blocks the rivers and canals, and it just makes it impossible for any movement further from there. So looking at all of this is something which even we see at the lake. The more it grows, we worry about our aquatic life at the lake, because it depletes oxygen, and that doesn't help the fish and the other living organisms in our lakes. So we got down to wondering what to do next, because 2 years pandemic, the hyacinth just completely took charge. It was one of these moments that we, it was one of these WhatsApp videos which popped up, and, which spoke about alternate tree-free paper that this manufacturing unit called Blue Cat was doing. Before that, we also had got in touch with this craft maker. They make bags and they make uh, um, furniture and all of it out of hyacinth. But nobody was based out of Bangalore. Everyone wanted all of this to like be transported, cleaned. They wanted stems cut. They wanted it washed. They wanted us to make bundles. And, the work on us was getting to be a little overwhelming. And they said, after that, you send it over to us, which was a little, tough on all of us because we had our other professions happening. So we kind of, had to let that go. But when this video came up of, this manufacturing unit called Blue Cat, which is doing tree-free paper, we just, dropped them a note and we said, listen, we've got as much hyacinth as you want. And we know for a fact it's very, very high fiber. And, we also know paper happens out of it. And we also know that you work with alternate materials like, elephant poop and cotton fiber and all the waste that even she's, receiving corn husk and stuff. So we got a prompt reply. They said, yes, for sure, please send it over. We would like to test it. So we did. We kind of took a bit and then we just kind of couriered it to them. And in about 2-3 weeks, we kind of got a reply. It was like a parent-teacher meeting. We sent our student hyacinth to to get tested, and then we were waiting for its report card. So the report card was like, oh, your student is your child is like excellent, very well behaved, and kind of a thing. We were like super excited because they said it was very sturdy and very resilient, and it was all the right words we wanted to hear about the hyacinth. And they wanted to further experiment. They said, how do you want to go about it? We said, look, the lake is full of it and nobody is going to stop you from taking something which is called the dreaded weed. So we are more than happy to kind of collaborate and help you in whichever way possible. So we had the hyacinth, they had the technology, and we had volunteers, and they've got a manufacturing center. So it kind of beautifully came together, and we were okay to experiment as long as we were here in this mode of trying to save the environment and trying to, promote a product which can be an alternate to paper. Paper as in from trees. And here you have 100 acres of free mall, for anything, for anyone. So that's how the journey started. And on Environment Day, before that was the fact that out of the little that we had sent her, she had made like these mind-blowing products, which, almost we were tearing up. It was like, your naughty child got first rank in school. It was more like that. So she had made bags and she had made coasters and table mats and gift wrapping sheets, and I kind of shared it around in our community, the lake community, with our apartment and areas around, and kind of created a very positive buzz. That there's always this fear of how will people take a new product. And it was welcomed with open arms, and we said, okay, the result is good, so how do we go further? So then she said, why don't you send me a ton of hyacinth? So we kind of planned it around Environmental Day this year. And so we said from our environment it's going to their environment. So we got down into collecting about a ton of hyacinth, and further sent it. These were our 50 volunteers, and here you can see us. We loaded the entire thing into a truck and we sent it further. And once over there, of course, they created a case study around it and got down into washing and pulping and boiling and continued. I mean, they followed the process. A lot of R&D went into their work, because for the first time, even they were trying out, using hyacinth for paper. So, and it kind of turned out well. So this is from the, I got these pictures from the International Journal. I think the professors are from Bangladesh, and they came up with with information that was quite, it was mind-boggling about the fact that there's so much the industry actually has to sit up and say, why do we have to cut trees when you can get the same quality and the same output and even better from something which is considered waste? Yeah. And the thing with the hyacinth is it's a single plant, but it gives off millions of seeds, and each seed stays healthy for about 5 years. And that's a kind of power the hyacinth holds over us. And the leaves are like rich in protein, and as much as the potato or a clover has, the stem is extremely high in potassium. The stalk and the leaves are used in soups in Thailand. And sometimes when I'm seeing when you get into the nursery the plant nursery websites, they're actually selling hyacinth for 550 rupees and such numbers. And you panic because this is an invasive species. The last thing you want is people just throwing it casually. And then the next thing you know is the next water body it hits, or it in your STP tank, and you probably be having a whole hyacinth wave happening there. So in fact, we use it in our lakes. About 10 or 20% of it is definitely needed, because they are, the roots are like tough and they are like fibrous, and we generally have it at the inlet, the lake inlet, because it kind of purifies and strains, the incoming, water. And it's known, as I said, to absorb nitrogen and the phosphorus, which it thrives on, and also, sucks in the lead and the mercury and all the other minerals, which are technically, not encouraged in water bodies. So it's got a lot of potential in that sense, especially, raw sewage. It's a good, it depletes, the intensity level of raw sewage. So with all of this, and also once we sent it across, and then we get to know that the cellulose content in this plant is, 60%, which is, unbelievable compared to the the trees which are cut on a regular basis, which is only 30. So why would you cut grown trees to make paper when you have something so freely available and so easily grown, which doesn't need fertilizer, doesn't need anything, just thrives on any water body. And this kind of a shift is what I think we all need to work on. The stem itself is apparently like very, very high in cellulose, and like Gauri was saying, if the jeans is taking about 4,000 liters of water, your one A4 size paper, how much do you think a regular A4 size paper takes? You can key that in. Let me know. Making one A4 size paper takes how much water? How many liters? Do I get to see it? Oh no. What is the answer? Sorry. Okay. 250. Okay. Oh, these are very fancy numbers. Okay, then we are good. I think we can continue with the A4 size paper. Apparently, to make one single A4 size paper, it takes about 20 to 30 liters of water. But the whole point being that, when you see trees which are brown, and then when you see white A4 size papers, that itself should know the kind of chemicals that have gone in to do, what we use. So I think it's a paradigm shift, to at least get magazines and publishing houses, and at least to have those inserts, or a Sunday magazine in alternate paper. It could be anything of that sort, because the kind of numbers that we talk of bringing down, trees is exponential. So we got covered again by the newspaper for putting the cursed weed to good use. So these were so we kind of, once the products were made, so I have some here with me, really pretty books, and everything is tree free. Can you believe I'm holding something which has been made out of our lake's hyacinth, and of course she's made a book, and what is inside again is white sheet, but it is not paper. Again, she has used cotton fiber to make this book. And I've got and the same gift wrapping, we've got the same carry bags, and it costs the same. It's what you would pay for a regular bag in the shop. This is also 45 rupees kind of a thing for a medium bag. The books are the same cost as you would go to a Sapna book house or any of your book houses and pick up your stuff. Your wine bags are 80 rupees, and I don't know, I was like quite enamored. You go to any of these shops, or you go to a Fab India or one of these high-end stores, and then you're ready to pay like premium for just block printing. But where has that paper come from? And these are just from the lake outside, kind of thing. So we put out the exhibition kind of a thing in our apartments, got the children all involved. You'd see in the last one where we had little ones who came and said, "Auntie, this is not the tree paper. It's that green thing in the lake. Is it from there? And is it that green thing which has become paper?" And, because nobody's seen the hyacinth from up close, right? Because we are the ones working there. Everyone else is like, "Oh, we don't work in such situations and in areas like that." But then the children had they spent a good amount of time bringing their parents and, making sure that they saw it. And, so we had a good sale. So from all of this, what we got to know is we kind of saw this entire idea culminate into it coming into the main market, and, people buying it. And it definitely is a conversation piece, if you ask me, and to kind of just gift it to somebody and say, "Hey, you know what, this paper is not from trees and it's from the hyacinth." The hyacinth, this thing with that green thing which grows in the lake. So I guess that is something which was the takeaway for most people, because nobody could believe that something so beautiful could actually come out of something which we've all been cursing. So if this is the case, and if if the industry really opens up to using something so beautiful, and so easy to work with, because it boils fast, it's one of those, as I said, sturdy material. Then we have lakes looking like this. This is our Hulimau Lake before the rejuvenation. Now we are like going through metamorphosis. I mean, these are views you can sit with and have your picnics and things like that, which otherwise is all covered in green in Bangalore. So yeah, I'm just showing off here.
Thank you, Mithan. Thank you for
Yeah,
that, taking us through your journey of how you came up with that idea and how it culminated into an actual product, and
correct.
And how people have taken to it. I think, I don't know about other cities, but Bangalore, we have seen our lakes deteriorate in front of our eyes, and we have seen them just being covered with green. So to think that all this can be actually taken out and then come back to us in in the form of paper or paper products, I think that's great. I mean, I would not have imagined it. So thank you for bringing that. I will now, I think there are some questions, I believe, from the audience.
I'll stop share.
Yeah. So, but before that, I would like to ask both of you. I've asked Garvita this already, but I would like to ask both of you, as an innovator, what do you think is the most important quality that one should have? And maybe start with you, Mithan, and go on to Preeti.
Sorry, about innovation, is it?
As an innovator, what do you think is the most important quality
I
that
think to
one
keep the
should have?
math side on, we should have these, out of the box. I really believe anything is possible. Now, see for example, Preeti sitting in Ladakh, and who knew? I mean, you just look at the snow and just say, okay, melt the water, melt the snow, you get the water, but we don't realize that there's so much which goes into it actually. I think that they say in Hindi, that kida has to always be there, I think, to always keep that thought of what next and what does the environment need? How can we help it in some way? I mean, as I said, we're all slaves to it at some point, and that constant thing of how do we save what we are working on, I think makes us think differently. And when you have like team members, like again, Manisha, she's another mad hatter in the group. So it's good to have, ideas which come out from everyone.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, because unless you have that little flame inside to say, okay, what can I do to make a difference? I think that you don't start thinking outside the box, and I think that's good. Well, Preeti, I would love to hear from you. What do you think is the most important quality of an innovator?
I feel patience is most important because there are a lot of ideas. Uh, like we name it, and there are thousands of ideas there. It's the execution where people fail, and if we have patience to sit with one thing, maybe we must have started with X and we'll come out with Y. But having the patience to give time to that thing, staying committed, I think right now this is the thing which has been most lacking. Most of the time we want everything quickly, and so giving that time and effort and understanding each and every person why certain things are, and it should not like, again, the empathy part, one person's solution should not become a problem for the other person. So how do we ensure that everyone is being accounted for it, everyone takes the ownership, and it's for everyone. Yeah.
I
Very
think
true.
consistency, right? Yeah, being consistent at what you're doing and seeing it through. Most of
Yes.
us, give up midway, but I think, yeah,
Yeah,
seeing it
very
through
true.
makes it. I have a few questions. I think I just saw something popping up, Radhika. I don't know if I'm
Right,
seeing
right.
it
I would
right.
like, there's a few questions for Preeti. So let's go with that. I think there's one question of whether your filter has been tried out in other parts of the country, and if so, where, and what is the cost, and can it be used in residential applications?
So yeah, this filter is actually been available in 50 to 60 countries, working, functioning, and it is functioning in India as well. As I mentioned, Sehgal Foundation is the partner organization of cost who are building this. And it's there in Bihar, Himachal Pradesh, and some other parts of India as well. And the thing is, same filter can be taken and it will be functional. It's just that I'm trying to make it work in Ladakh and
Yeah,
trying to customize it for Ladakh. In fact, for other states, there is no problem related to the
sure.
winter part and other things. And the cost of it is somewhere about 3,500 to 4,000 rupees. So it is cost effective. Other good part of this filter is it does not require electricity. I forgot to mention that in the beginning.
Mm.
So here in winter, it happens there is a power cut. So that's why again going for
Correct.
this one, like it helps in that. Yeah.
Correct. And as I think Mr. Ajit had mentioned that there is, of course, Watsan, Mr. Chandrasekhar, who actually works on also, electricity free. I mean, it doesn't need electricity to, so maybe we can help
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
connect.
was looking up that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Always open to look up and experiment, like try to identify what works where. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, 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 exactly. So, some questions for you, Mithan. I think there's one question here that said, um, I'm trying to find it, but basically, yeah, because water hyacinth, I think if you want to really address the water hyacinth problem, you have to go back to the the source, right? I mean, so to stop sewage entering the lakes. Now, what
And
would you comment on
it's
that?
and
Yeah.
here in Bangalore somewhere, I don't think there's any lake which you can go up to and drink water from it. Since we are now all the lakes in Bangalore are now urban lakes. I mean, you're all surrounded by not villages anymore, right? Now we've, as Preeti was saying, all flush toilets and all of it. So the water is definitely not something which is finding the right route out. So we have these are all urban issues, and our lakes are taking the brunt of it. Yeah. Yeah, the hyacinth is cleaning the water, agreed. Yeah, but we need only 20% of hyacinth covering the lake. Because even the fishermen who work at our lake, used to encourage up to that 20%. They said, it's good for the fish to go under and, be in the shade and, all of it. So we are okay with that 20% as per the rule, but this kind of took over almost 80% of our lake. So that is when we started seeing trouble. Is there anything else I have to
I would
answer?
encourage participants to unmute themselves and ask questions if you'd like, or even comments. I think Mr. Ajit, I think, had a really very interesting comments. Is there something that you would like to say or ask? Mr. Ramandeep, I think you had some questions. Please, I mean, feel free to unmute and participate. Let's make it as interactive as we can.
We are looking at seeing whether companies would like to shift their rough paper use from from executive bond papers to maybe alternate. We don't say just hyacinth, just go tree free, and then hyacinth is therefore also as one of the materials for paper now, and the very good results which have come out of it, right from book to writing paper to wrapping paper. So the GSMs are as varied. Mr. Ajit is saying.
Very interesting. Mr. Amandeep, I think you've unmuted, so please go ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me? The product is great and it should be used in the schools, more and more in the schools, because most of the children want to drink the water, and to get the filter water, it will be great for them, for their health also, and even the government will promote it. And schools are also looking up for these types of innovations. Secondly, because I am talking about the Punjab school, there is an irregularity in the supply of the water, and you do not know at what time you will get the water. So these kind of filters will be a great, and it was a great learning for me to listen to everyone, to have the listen to experts. And thank you so much. I want to add this.
Thank you, Mr. Amandeep.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I am Ajit speaking here.
Yes, we can hear you.
No, I have my connectivity a problem, but anyway, it's very nice listening to I will say youngsters budding up very well on the water innovation, and when they come to our age, I think we will be more welcome to all innovations to the communities. Yes, hyacinths have been tried out in many ways. Even particle boards have been made using hyacinths. And of course, on Madam Preeti's innovations, keep it on. I think more filters can be done. And as Sir had mentioned, the schools are the best. Schools are the best trial ground. And mostly in a small community, in a village, a lot of say youth and elders look forward to schools as a common meeting ground. Whenever you have a health camp, public health camp,
yes,
or any say mela, you have it in an open ground or in some big hall in a school, well sheltered in winter times, especially in Punjab and Leh and other places. Schools are the best, and schools are a very good learning ground. Children can learn from the youth days, and it will go for a very long time. That is the most important thing. And if a midday meal is there, have your own vegetable garden, have your own vegetables, and encourage. We have done doing this. Encourage children to bring in bio waste, clean bio waste in paper bags to school, and do composting in school pits. So they learn farming, they learn composting, they learn how to innovate, how to do things. So you get food there, they cook, they have that oneness, that is, they all cook together, they enjoy. And one very most important thing I would like to say is all the wash techniques, please initiate from the school onwards. I don't say very youngsters, from say 7th, 8th standard onwards, they should learn how to clean toilets. I don't say that they should be made to clean toilets every day or whatever it is, but they should be doing it, filling up water, filling up hygiene. I mean cleaning up and maintaining hygiene. These things have to be learned in school, and of course they will become better as they grow along. Thank you very much.
I think, yes, thank you. I think that we have seen from Garvita's case where her school teacher actually encouraged her to sort of take up that innovation and run with it, and that has given her confidence to actually build a organization around it. I think that's great input. I think with that, if there are no comments, I will once again.
Can I add one or two things?
Yes, please.
So I would just like to add that Chandni ji, who is from Delhi, who is also one of the Wiki member. So she is from Navjyoti India Foundation. So they have in fact encouraged women from the lower group, from economically backward group, and now they are making them water entrepreneurs, waterpreneurs. And they are going and taking this water filter to different parts of Delhi and NCR and the other nearby areas. And as Ajit sir was saying, I was like, I've been trying to do this. I work really closely with children of Ladakh. We are working for more than 50 schools now, where we are introducing environment education. It is a Wipro's Earthian program, which is an environment education competition. So wherein we are in 5 schools. Out of the 5 schools, we are in 2 schools, we are making passive solar classroom, trying to work with the things that you already have in your surrounding. So using the solar energy, using the waste for the insulation, and children and teacher and the parents, everyone is contributing. They are making the bricks, they are taking the stones and constructing the whole thing. In 2 schools, we are doing zero waste school project, wherein the children are going to like changing the narrative of waste. Instead of calling it waste, we are calling the bins as resource banks. And one will be called as plastic bottle bank, plastic paper wrapper bank, and things like that. So it is very important that we ask the children to do it. In one school, we are doing greenhouse because in early winters and late, like early summers and late early winters, it's not a suitable time for the plants to grow. So what is done in the greenhouse? You're creating a separate ecosystem where the children are seeing how to grow food for themselves, which includes the midday meal. So how do you ensure that your food, you are able to grow your own food and you're able to sustain yourself? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think that's very true, because I think by the end of, it is through innovation that we can actually really come up with newer solutions, to existing problems, right? I mean, and that's how we try to address these. And there are, as the word grows, I mean, as we become a larger and larger community of people who are passionate about these causes, I think that innovation just, takes on like a logarithmic scale, and we just can explode with really great innovations that we can actually implement and make a change across the world. So with that, I would like to thank all of you for being part of the panel today and sharing your journey in this innovation, and how you have made a difference in your little sphere of work. So thank you. It is extremely enlightening, and thank you all. Thank you for the participants. Your great comments, your questions, and your interactions have been wonderful. And thank you, Mansi, for this opportunity. I will now hand it over to Mansi for closing comments.
Thank you, Radhika. First of all, great learning from all the three young girls, Garvita, Mithan, and Preeti. So I don't need to summarize. You have done a wonderful moderation, Radhika. My job here is to again thank all of you, particularly participants who have been making Wednesday's conversation more meaningful, and announce for the next sessions. Please join us July 20. We have keynote speech by Professor Harini Nagendra on water smart cities as social ecological commons. One of the dear students of Nobel laureate Elinor Ostrom. So we are very excited to hear her. And on 27th July, we are actually talking about more interesting things as usual, AI and water management, and that will be moderated by Fauzia. So please join us, keep joining us, and see you next Wednesday and the Wednesdays to come. Please take care of yourself, and we look forward to having you again. Thank you so much, all of you.